Welcome to the MELI Units video on mode reporting for ECA implementing partners. MELI stands for Monitoring, Evaluation, Learning, and Innovation. This webinar is designed to walk implementing partners through mode data submission requirements and the process. This includes what the reporting requirements are, how to complete your data submission, some frequently asked questions, and how to request additional assistance. Before we begin, I want to spend just a few moments reviewing some key vocabulary so we're all on the same page. First is MODE, which stands for Monitoring Data for ECA, and it's the Bureau's Standardized Performance Monitoring Results Framework. If you're new to MODE, we recommend checking out the MELI Units website for more information on what exactly it is and how it is implemented. RPM stands for the Results Performance Monitoring Module, which is a separate module in SAMSD used to report on performance monitoring data. Data collected as part of MODE are reported into the RPM Performance Reports. The RPM Performance Report is different from the PPR or the Performance Progress Report. The PPR is used to report on overall progress for an award. The RPM Performance Report is only used to report mode data. The RPM Performance Report is located within the RPM module. It does not replace the PPR, so you should confirm with your ECA Program Officer or GOR if you aren't sure whether or not you need to submit a PPR. The rest of this presentation will discuss mode data requirements specifically, not other reporting requirements that may exist for your award. Starting with who should be reporting on mode. This includes any ECA implementing partners with an active ECA award that includes mode requirements. If you are unsure if your award includes mode requirements, you can check with your program officer or GOR. In terms of what you should be reporting, implementing partners should report on any mode data collected from participants that completed an ECA program during the reporting period. The current reporting period is any time between April 1st and September 30th of this year. All mode reporting is due on October 31st of this year. And lastly, mode data should be submitted through the SAMSD RPM module using the RPM Performance Report. Implementing partners should complete an RPM performance report for each active award or renewal with mode requirements. In terms of the process, there are two different scenarios I want to address. First, there may be some implementing partners who do not have any participants that completed the program between April 1st and September 30th for an award. In this situation, a SAMSD RPM performance report should still be submitted. To do so, you will need to navigate to your SAMSD RPM performance report, complete the narrative section of the report with no participants completed the program during the reporting period, and then submit the SAMSD RPM performance report. To illustrate that process, we're going to do a quick walkthrough in SAMSD. Once you are in your SAMSD account, you will want to navigate to the Monitoring tab and select RPM Performance Reports. This will take you to a list of the performance reports for each of your organization's awards. You can search for the correct performance report by using your award number. Once you find the correct performance report, you need to click on it. This will take you to a summary page for the performance report. From this page, click on the Performance Report Details. This will display a list that shows the report periods and submission dates for reporting according to your award provisions. For most programs, this will reflect 6-month reporting periods, with reporting due in April and October. These dates are a couple years behind in the example since it's just a test report, but you will want to look for the row that has a period end date of September 30th, 2022. This should also be the row where the status is draft. Once you click on the correct report period, a form will open to the right. On this form, scroll down to Overall Assessment of Project and expand the menu. Under Anticipated Results, you should select the option that is most applicable to your program. Next, scroll down to the Narrative Reporting section, and you'll want to enter the text, "No participants completed the program during the reporting period." After you enter this information, you can submit your RPM performance report. At this point, your reporting requirements for mode are complete, but be sure to check with your program officer or GOR about any other reporting requirements for your award. The second scenario is that an implementing partner did have participants complete their program between April 1st and September 30th for an award. In this case, you will need to prepare your mode data and complete the SAMSD RPM performance report. This includes transferring your clean survey data to the raw data submission template, entering the aggregate data into the RPM performance report, attaching the raw data submission template, and submitting your SAMSD performance report. We're going to walk through each of these steps now. As part of the mode reporting guidance, you should have received the Mode Framework Raw Data Submission Template. If you still need to download the template, you can go to MELI's Mode website where we have the file available. Once you have the file open, you may need to click Enable Content at the top of the window. Next, you should save a local copy. We recommend using the file name Mode Framework Raw Data Submission. Put the fiscal year of your award, put your program name, and then put your organization name. Then click Save. The first thing you will want to do in your template is review and complete the Instructions tab. On the right-hand side, there is a guidance overview for completing the template, along with a button that will take you to a form so that you can sign up for office hours that MELI is offering during the reporting period. On the left-hand side, you will need to enter the requested information. This includes your organization and program name. You should also enter the fiscal year of the award you are reporting on. The fiscal year should be listed in the title of your award. Currently, you do not need to complete the ECA designation field. For the participant type fields, you will need to select yes or no from the option menu, depending on the type of participants you have. For reciprocal participants, these are Americans who travel to an exchange participant's home country. If the Americans in your program are reciprocal participants, you should put no to American and yes to reciprocal. Please note that this sheet and all the others in this template are locked so that you will only be able to enter the required information. This leads us to the next tab, the Raw Data tab. This is where you will enter your raw survey data. You will notice that the headers are not editable. This is to ensure that all submitted data sets have the same labeling and structure. This tab is the Main Data tab. Other than the Instruction tab, it is the only place you will need to enter data. You will notice several other tabs along the bottom. These are Data Summary tabs, populated by the data you enter into the Raw Data tab. Since we have not entered any raw data, these tabs currently do not have any information in them. We will revisit these once we have some data to look at. To complete the Raw Data tab, you will need to copy your data into the applicable columns. You may not have data for every column, but each column is labeled with the corresponding indicator. You should have data for every column associated with an indicator required for your award. When you export your raw data from your survey platform, it will likely look similar to this file, which has very little formatting. Across the top row, you will see the questions from your survey. Then each of the following rows represents one respondent. You will need to find the columns that contain your mode data. For example, this first column contains the required country demographic data. If you look at the viewing pane at the top, you can more easily see the question in the column you've selected. At this point, you will need to select everything in the column except for the first row. You can do this by clicking on the second column or the first cell that has data for the column, and then while holding the button down, drag to select all of the values in this column. Once you do this, you can click Control-C on your keyboard to copy it, or in the gray area, you can right-click and select Copy. Navigate back to your data submission template, and you'll want to find the corresponding column in this template. In this case, it is again the first column. To copy your data, you'll want to click on the first empty cell in the column. This should be on row number 4, and you'll want to click Control-V to paste your data. You can also right-click in the column and click Paste Values. At this point, we can go back to our survey export data to copy the next column of mode data. Here, our second column is the mode question about changing views of the American people. Once again, we will select everything in the column except the first row. We will copy it, and we will go back to our template to paste it in the correct mode column. You will notice that the same question is not always in the same column for both your survey export and the mode submission template. You will need to make sure that you paste data into the right columns. In this case, we needed to go to column U to find the question about views on the American people. Now we will paste our data. During this process, you may notice that there are errors in your data. For example, if we go back to the home country column, you may notice that there's a misspelling of Uzbekistan, or there's a blank cell where the respondent did not enter their country. However, you should not work on cleaning your data while you are in the process of transferring it to the template. If you delete a cell in one column, it may affect how the data lines up once you're done with the transfer. We recommend that you complete any necessary data cleaning prior to transferring the data to the template. If you need any assistance with cleaning your raw data, please sign up for MELI office hours. We will be happy to assist you. This raw data tab can accommodate up to 2,000 responses, but if you have more than that, please contact MELI. There are a couple of question types that are common to survey raw data that I want to highlight for you. The first is questions that are select all that apply. For mode, this includes the questions on race and ethnicity and the survey questions for indicators E1.1.09, E3.1.02, E4.0.03, and E4.0.05. When you export your survey data for these questions, it should be formatted in one of two ways. If each option choice is in its own column, then that aligns with the raw data submission template. You can just copy and paste the columns of the data just like you did for other questions. If the selected option choices are listed together in a single column, there is an extra step you will need to take to separate them out. To show you this, we will go back to the raw data submission template. In our template, you will see the columns for indicator E1.1.09, where respondents are asked to select all the reasons they previously traveled outside their home country. You will notice that each response option has its own column. Here's tourism, visiting family and friends, etc. However, if we look at our exported survey, we will notice it is in a different format. Our survey question for indicator 1.1.09 is in column E, and all of the selected responses are listed in one cell for each respondent. So for example, the respondent in row 4 selected that they have traveled outside their home country for tourism, visiting friends and family, and so on. To get these data into the template correctly, we need to break these responses into their own columns. To do this, we will create a new tab. Then starting in the second column, we are going to make a column for each of the response options in the question. So you will see here we have a column for tourism, visiting friends and family, and each of the other response options in this question. Now we will go back to our raw survey data and we will grab the raw data from this column. We will copy it and we will put it in this first column here. We can label this combined data. Now, if you're like me and the long text strings going into the next cell are distracting, you can add a tick mark to the cell which will prevent data from overflowing. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see better what I'm doing in each of the cells. But the tick mark is usually on the same keyboard key as the quotation mark, just don't hold down Shift. Now I can click on the cell with the tick mark and then click on this dot in the bottom right-hand corner, hold down my mouse and drag to the bottom of my data. You will see that the text no longer overflows into the adjacent cell. We're going to overwrite this tick mark, but it keeps the data at bay while we work. So now in this first empty cell in the second column, I'm going to enter a formula. And what this formula will do is it will tell this cell to pull in the information, the word tourism, if tourism shows up in this combined data column. So if we look at this equation, it's saying that if certain conditions are met, to pull in the word tourism. So this first letter and number here refers to the cell that it should look at. So this is, for us, this cell, we want it to be this combined data. So for this spreadsheet, that is cell A is the column and 2 is the row. You'll also want to make sure that you have this $sign in front of the cell. What this does is it tells the formula to look at this column no matter what, no matter where we move this equation. Then you'll want to enter the response option you're looking for. So in this case, we're looking at tourism. And so this part of the formula tells the cell that if it sees tourism here, it should then enter in this text into the cell that the equation is in. So we want to enter tourism into this cell in the second column. So I will press Tab so that it will go, and you will see that tourism is showing up in this cell. Now if we click on this cell, and again if we click on the dot in the bottom right hand corner and hold down the mouse, we can drag this down to the bottom of our data, and you'll see that it now populates the word tourism anytime tourism shows up in this combined data in the first column. So this is pulling the tourism response option into its own column. Now what we can do is we can click on the dot and pull this equation over to our next column. So you'll notice that it's pulling tourism in again, but if we look at the equation, we'll see that we still have tourism written here. So what we'll want to do in this case is we will want to enter visit friends and family. Since this is the visit friends and family column, we want to make sure that this cell is looking for visiting friends and family in the combined data. So what we're going to do is we'll come and we will take the visit friends and family, and you'll want to make sure that the text you enter in this equation matches what the response option is exactly. Since it is looking for this string of letters, you want to make sure that it matches what it will see over here. So it's also a good idea to check and make sure that the response option is listed the same in the responses, which you'll see visit friends/family, it is the same. So we will come over here and we still want to look at A2, and we will, instead of tourism, we are going to enter visit friends and family, and we want that to return visit friends and family. So you will notice that nothing populates in this cell, and that is because in the combined data column, visit friends and family is not listed. When we're looking at the equation, these last two quotation marks are very important. You want to make sure that there's no space in between them, because what this is telling the formula is that if it does not see friends and family in this combined data column, then it's going to return a blank cell. And so that's what we're seeing here. Now, if we click and we grab our little dot and we pull it down to the bottom of our data, you will see that visit friends and family shows up for any of the rows that have it in this first column. Once you have done this formula for each column, your data should look like this, and you are ready to transfer it to your data submission template. You will need to select all of the data and copy, and as long as your response options are in the same order in the columns as they are on the data submission template, you can copy all of the data at once. You'll want to start with the first column of response options and the first cell with response data. So you don't want to copy this header. So starting in this cell, we will copy all of this information, and we will go over to our data submission template, and we need to make sure that we look for the columns that are for indicator E1.1.9, which are right here, and you'll see the response options are tourism, visit friends and family, etc. And then we will select the first empty cell in the first response option column. We will right click, and then under paste options, you want to make sure that you select this values option with the 1, 2, 3 over the clipboard. And what this does is it pastes the value that we generated from the formula, but it doesn't paste the formula. And now our select all that applied data for this indicator has been transferred. The other question type I wanted to discuss is the matrix question type. For mode, this includes survey questions for indicators E1.1.11, E1.1.12, E1.1.18, E1.1.19, E2.2.1, E3.1.05, and lastly E4.2.01. A matrix question refers to questions that ask respondents to choose a response from a series of items that are often related to a central question. You can see an example of this in this screenshot of indicator E1.1.18, where each row is a topic and each column is a response choice. In your survey export, matrix questions should appear in multiple columns, with one column for each topic. So in this case, there will be a column for United States democracy with respondents' answer choices for that topic listed below. Then there will be a second column for United States economy with respondent answer choices listed below that. This continues for each topic of the matrix question. You will want to copy each column and put it in the associated column in the raw data submission template. Coming back to our data submission template, you will see a column for each of the topics in the matrix question for indicator E1.1.18. Here's United States democracy, economy, and so on, with a column for each of the topics. If we go over to our exported survey data, we will see that it is set up the same way, with a column for each of the topics. Here is United States democracy, economy, and so on for each of the topics. To transfer this data, you just need to select the data in the column and transfer it to your data submission template. So we will select the first cell in the column with data, select the column, we'll take it over to the data submission template and we will paste it into the corresponding column. Once you have completed the template with all of your mode data, your raw data tab should look similar to this. As I mentioned, depending on your required indicators, not every column will have data in it. But now that the raw data file has been populated, the summary tabs have data for us to look at. On the Mode Indicator Results tab, each indicator is automatically calculated. You will see a column for the numerator, which are any respondents that met the definition of the indicator, the denominator, which is any respondent that answered the survey question, and the aggregate indicator value. So looking at this first indicator, E1.1.01, 99 respondents reported that they had the opportunity to engage with other cultures. There were 102 responses to this survey question, so the final indicator value is 97% of participants reported that they had the opportunity to engage with other cultures. Looking at indicator E1.1.11, you will notice that there are NAs listed. This means that no data was reported for this indicator in your raw data tab. This likely means that this is not an indicator that is required for your award. From this indicator results tab, you can click on the details button for each indicator. This will take you to the tab for that specific indicator. You can also navigate to these different indicator tabs using the bottom of the page. On each indicator tab, you will see the breakdown by disaggregations for the indicator. Looking at the gender table as an example, the number of responses column tells you how many respondents were in each subgroup for this indicator. The percentage column tells you the percent of that subgroup that met the definition of the indicator. So in this case, there were 53 respondents that identified as female, and 98% of these individuals reported they had the opportunity to engage with other cultures. You can use the Return to Indicator Results button to go back to that tab. As you are reviewing the aggregate data in these tabs, if you notice errors or issues, you will not be able to correct them on the summary tabs. This could be anything like a country or state misspelling, indicator aggregates that seem off, or lower response counts than you were expecting. In order to address any of these issues, you will need to go to your Raw Data tab to review your raw data and identify what might be causing the unexpected summary data. You will then be able to make any corrections in your raw data tab in order for the summary tables to update. Let's take a look at a pretty straightforward example of this. If we go back to the tab for indicator 1.1.01 and we look at the country table, you'll notice that there are two rows for Uzbekistan. But the second row is because it's a misspelling of the country name. So what we can do is we can right-click on this cell and copy this misspelling. We can go over to our raw data template and click Control F, and we can enter in the misspelling of Uzbekistan. And then we can do Find All. So what this shows us is that there's only one place where this misspelling occurs, and it's actually showing us on the spreadsheet. It's pretty faint, but it's highlighted in green here, and this is the misspelling. So if we fix the spelling, and then we navigate back to the indicator tab, you'll notice that now there is only one row for Uzbekistan. You can also use MELI office hours to review these kinds of issues. If you think there is an issue with a calculation on the summary tables, please reach out to MELI to let us know. As a reminder, on the Instructions tab, you can click Sign up for office hours at any time. Once your raw data submission template is prepared, you need to enter your data into the RPM performance report. You will need to include the aggregate indicator value for each indicator, but you are not required to enter indicator data for disaggregations. Even if your indicator lists disaggregations, you do not need to enter any data for these. After your data is entered, you will attach your raw data submission template and submit your RPM performance report. To submit your RPM performance report, you will want to log in to SAMSD, select the Monitoring tab, and select RPM Performance Reports. As a reminder, this will take you to a list of the performance reports for each of your organization's awards. You can search for the correct performance report by using your award number. Once you find the correct performance report, you should click on it. This will take you to a summary page for the performance report, and you will want to click on Performance Report Details. This list shows the report periods and submission dates for reporting according to your award provisions. Again, you will want to look for the row that has the period end date of September 30th, 2022 and is marked as draft. As a reminder, in this example performance report, the reporting period is a year behind. But once you select the reporting period you're looking for, the form will open on the right-hand side. You'll want to click on Performance Report Data in the top left-hand corner. A list of your indicators will show up in a table. If you have custom indicators that were entered into your RPM evaluation proposal for your award, those will be listed in the chart too. You should enter the data necessary to report on that indicator. Entering data for custom indicators is done the same way as mode indicators, so we will focus on entering data for mode indicators. The mode indicators will be listed with their indicator number starting with E on the table. You will need to click on the mode indicator to open the form to the right, and you may need to scroll back to the top of the page to see the form. You'll then want to find the indicator section and click the plus mark next to that to expand the section. You'll then look for the fields Indicator Period Progress, Numerator, and Denominator. As a reminder, you can use the Indicator Results tab of your data submission template to help fill these fields out. For percentage indicators, such as percent of participants reporting that their exchange experience offered opportunities to engage with other cultures, you do not need to enter anything in the period progress number. Instead, enter the numerator and denominator from your Indicator Results tab into the corresponding fields. So we can see from our Indicator Results tab that the numerator is 99 for this indicator and 102 for the denominator. Once those are entered, the indicator period progress will automatically generate the percent for the indicator. For number indicators, such as indicator E204, number of hours that foreign participants spend volunteering in their host communities, you only need to enter the period progress number. You'll notice that the numerator and denominator fields are actually grayed out. So we can see from our Indicator Results tab that there were 2,033 hours, so we will enter that into the period progress field. Once the correct fields have been completed, you'll need to scroll down to the discussion section of the form. Click on the plus sign to expand this section, and in the discussion box, you can enter NA unless you have something specific that you want to share about a given indicator. This could be a note about data collection, insights into indicator results, or brief qualitative information related to the indicator. Once you have completed the discussion box, you can click Save. Your indicators may show that they have associated disaggregations, like this one here where there's a number listed next to disaggregations, but you do not need to enter any data for these. Once you enter the data for the indicator overall on this main form, you can move on to the next indicator. Once you have entered and saved data for all of the mode indicators, you can navigate back to the performance report details by using this menu across the top of the screen. Once you're here, you'll want to select the correct reporting period with the status in draft, and then we'll go to attachment details so that we can attach the mode data submission template. On this page, you will need to select New. Under File Class, you'll want to select Post Award, and then under File Category, you will select Report. In the top right corner, select the paperclip, and then you'll want to select your mode raw data submission file. Then click Open. Once your file is attached, you can click Save. You will know it's attached when it shows up as a link at the top of this form. Once your page reloads, you will see that you now have the attachment listed as an attachment detail. From here, you'll want to go back to the performance report details using the menu at the top and go back to your draft performance report. There's one last thing that you need to complete before submitting your report, and that is under the overall assessment of project. You'll want to expand this section, and in this anticipated results field, you'll want to select the option that best applies to your program. Once you select this option, you'll want to scroll back to the top and click Save. Once your screen has refreshed, you're now ready to submit your performance report. You can do this by clicking the Submit button. When the page refreshes, you will see that the performance report period will now have a status of pending final review. Once your RPM performance report is submitted, your program officer and MELI will review your data. If we have any questions, we will reach out to clarify. Once we have completed our review, the data will be finalized and reporting will be complete. MELI is planning additional resources and trainings early next year to offer some tangible ways to use your mode data to support your programming. We will also be using the data submitted by our implementing partners to present aggregate data on ECA's outcomes as a whole. As you work through your reporting, we would like to invite you to sign up for office hours if you have any additional questions or run into any issues. We have also included a data submission guide and the raw data submission template on our website. Thank you for watching and happy reporting.